Hi everyone, welcome back. This video is part 2 of the video on how to insert and edit tables inside of Microsoft Word, and in this video we'll go ahead and see the features that are present inside of the table design tab which pops up once you insert a table inside of Microsoft Word. You can find a link to part 1 of this video in the description box below and you can go ahead and watch that. If not, if you're just looking for the table design options, which is things like how do you color your table, how do you add borders to your table, or how do you style your table, then that's something that you can find in this video. So let's get started with part 2 now. And in order to be able to understand this, I've pasted some content over here. And the first thing you'll see within this is called as the table style options. And basically what this does is it allows you to change the options that are available within this section called as table styles. What do I mean by that is you'll see some checkboxes over here which says header, rows, first column, total row, last column, etc. Whenever I check something over here or uncheck something over here, the different table style options that are available over here are going to get changed. What I mean by that is if you click on the drop down next to table styles, you'll see a bunch of table options. If you just observe over here, you will notice that the first row and the first column have been highlighted over here to look a certain way, and I have multiple table layout options over here. That's because my header row and first column have been checked. Let's just say I uncheck my header row and first column and I just open it. You'll notice that the table style options have changed now, and basically you use these either by checking them or unchecking them to control the kind of options that you are going to be able to view over here, which you can then go ahead and use on your table. Now we'll just see and understand these with a couple of examples. So over here I have a table which consists of something where the item names are over here and the quantity of each item that is going to be purchased over here, and the price per unit is over here, and the total amount is over here, and the total in terms of the quantity is this 22, and the total amount in terms of rupees is over here. Now in this specific table, I do know that I have a header row which I might want to highlight. Basically when I look at this table, everything looks the same to me. I am not able to identify which part of it is the header of the table in terms of the header row or the header column, or I also have a total section and I also have a total amount column, right? Usually your total amount will be the last row or the last column of your table. So I basically want to highlight these parts in such a way that I'm able to tell the difference. Now the first thing that I might want to do is I might just want to separate the numbers from the text itself. So what I'll do is I'll select the numbers and I'll probably just reduce the text a little bit and remove the bold. So just by doing this itself, it's become a little more readable, the table right now. Now the other way to enhance the readability of this table is by using these table style options. So right now you will notice that I have selected a very basic kind of table style over here, which is the selection made over here, you can see, but there are multiple other options over here which I can go ahead and select. Like I can make the table look pink or blue or something like that. But what you'll notice over here is even if I've changed the color, it's still not bringing out the header row and the header column very evidently, or even for that matter the total row and the total column over here. So what I'll notice over here is that I do have a header row, which is this, and I also do have a header column or the first column, which is this, which are to be highlighted. And I'll also notice that there is a total amount column, which is the last column, which is also an important column that I want to be highlighted, and there's a total row column which is also an important column, and I want this also to be highlighted. Now what I'll do over here is in this specific table, since I have all the four important aspects, now you'll notice that header row basically refers to the first row. Right now everything is unchecked and you will notice that these are the options that are available for your tables. The moment I check header row, what it basically does is it displays a bunch of options in the table styles in which the header row is highlighted in a different way so as to be able to differentiate it from the rest of the rows or the rest of the columns of the table. So when I check the header row, you'll automatically notice that the table styles have changed. When I uncheck it, it looks like this. When I check it, you will notice that the table styles have changed in such a way so as to be able to display the first row alone in a different manner. Also, a point to be noted over here is that not all the tables are going to change. For example, if you scroll down, you will notice that some of the tables have not changed at all. For example, if you see this table, in this table, the header is not highlighted at all. But what it does is that it does provide you with a bunch of options where the header row is highlighted, so you can go ahead and pick that. So now you'll notice that this looks a little bit more readable because my header row has been highlighted. But I don't want just the header row to be highlighted. I also want the first column to be highlighted because that's also an important part of my table. So what I do is I'll go check something called as first column. So now it's going to display a bunch of table options where the first row and the first column are both highlighted. So either I can select these, or I have a bunch of options over here where the first row and the first column are highlighted, or I can again obviously always use a plain table where nothing is highlighted. But what this enables you to do is it enables you to display a bunch of table style options where both the header row and the first column are highlighted in a different way so as to be able to make it more readable because I have checked these two options. Now in this specific example, I also have an important last column and a last row. Now over here you have two options called as last column and a last row. Total row is nothing but your last row. So let's just say that I also want to select my last row also to be highlighted a little differently. This will again give you a bunch of other options where last row has also been highlighted, and if I want the last column also to be highlighted, then I can tick that also, and this gives me a bunch of table options where the header row and the header first column and the last row and the last column have been highlighted. So I can browse some of the options that are available over here and select the best possible option. I sort of like this option also because this also brings out the meaning of the table in a better manner where the header row is highlighted and the columns are also highlighted while separating the totals in this manner and keeping the units over here in a separate matrix kind of a section. So this also makes it a little more readable. So in this manner you can modify and check or uncheck some of the options that are available over here to be able to modify the table style options that are going to appear for you, and based on that you can select from your drop down of table styles any specific style that you like which enhances the readability of your table. Now just another example to understand this is I have another table over here where I have an important header row which is the department, which consists of the department which is basically referring to these departments, and I also have the columns Q1 for quarter 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is also an important part, and my first column is also important, and I also have a total row which is also important. Let's just uncheck everything first, and in this table what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the header row checked because I do want the header row to be displayed differently. I also have a total row, so I'm also going to keep the total row checked, and I also have a first column, so I'm going to tick the first column as well. But I don't have a last column. I don't have any total column or any specific last column which needs to be highlighted, so I'm not going to tick that. So I'm basically going to leave that unchecked. Now I'm going to view the options that I have. If you can see, I have one kind of option over here, but this is not highlighting the total row, and I want the total row also to be highlighted. So I'm going to click on the drop down and see what options I have, and you'll notice that now it has provided me with options where the header row, the first column and the last row are going to be highlighted, and I kind of like the look of this table. Or I have another option over here which looks like this, which is also enhancing the readability of my table. So in this manner you can go ahead and select. So you need to convey to Microsoft Word as to what your table consists of. Does your table consist of a header row, a last column, or does it consist of only a header row and a header column and things like that, so that it displays to you options that are more appropriate for your specific table. And another two options that are there over here is basically banded rows and banded columns. Banded rows, what it does is it makes every odd row look a different color and every even row look a different color. So this also enhances the readability in a way, because when people are reading through large tables, if there are very long tables, then it is very easy to get confused which row you were on. So this basically enhances your readability to some extent. There's obviously again a banded columns as well, where the odd columns and even columns are going to be colored differently to be able to enhance the readability. So you can play around with the different options that are available over here based on your specific table and bring about those suitable table styles by checking or unchecking the options based on whatever is present in your table and selecting an appropriate table style from here based on whatever inputs you have given over here. Lastly, we'll just look at these shading options and these border options that you can use for coloring your specific table. If for example I don't like any of the table styles that are present over here and I want to go ahead and color it in my own specific way, let's just say that in this specific table I just want to highlight the annual total column which is present in a different color. So I can use the shading option. What the shading option does is wherever you place your cursor, it's going to give a color to that specific cell of your table. You can color individual cells like this. Let's just say that for some reason you want to keep a specific value highlighted, then you can place your cursor there and leave that highlighted as well. You can color any specific cell or any specific rows or any specific column based on your selection. So I just want to color this entire column. So I'm going to select this column and I'm going to keep it in black so that it's more readable. So in this manner you can use shading to color different parts of your table. Let's just say that I want to color the top of my row header to be in, let's say I want it to be in blue, and I just want these departments to be present in a lighter shade of blue, so I can do that as well. So I can individually shade it using this. Now the last option is the borders option. So you will notice over here that a border is missing for the remaining parts over here, and there's just a border over here. So how can you edit these borders? So basically, to edit your borders, the first thing you'll have to do is you have to select your border style, and there are three options over here that you need to select for. And you need to select your border style, which is basically you can select from one of these, and these are basically colors. You have blue, amber, etc., different colors. So you can just select a specific border style that you like. I just like the simple one, so I'm going to select that. The moment you select your border style, you'll notice that it automatically goes into the painter option with a pen like structure, which is used to manually draw the borders. I don't want to draw the borders yet. I want to make a couple of other selections here. So you have selected the border style, and now you can also go ahead and select your line style. Line style is basically, do I want dotted lines, do I want 2 lines or 3 lines, or some thicker lines like this? What am I looking for specifically? If I want a simple straightforward line, I can select this as well. And the next thing is you can also select the thickness. What is the thickness that I'm looking for? Half a point or 2.5 points, etc. So once you've chosen the thickness, you can also choose the color of your pen. Now what color do I want? Over here I will notice that I have one of the borders in white, and since this is black in color, I want specifically white itself to be the border. So I'm going to go ahead and select my pen color as white. Now these are the selections that you have made, which is the border style, the line thickness, and the pen color. Once you've made these options, you can either use the borders option or the border painter option. What the border painter option enables you to do is it enables you to draw them manually. For example, I can draw these lines manually over here by using a border painter option wherever I want to draw them specifically. So the border painter enables you to do it manually. If I don't want to do it manually, what I can also do is, I know for a fact that I want all of these columns to have the border to be white in color in the border selection that I have made. So I'm just going to uncheck the border painter and choose the borders option. And with the borders options, what you need to know is you need to first make a selection to a part of your table. I want this part of my table, that is this entire column, to have a specific border. And I know that the border should look like this, which consists of this as the style and white color and half a point is the border I want. And now within borders, if you click on the drop down, you'll notice that there are different options where there is a bottom border, a top border, or a left border, where if you select left border, it's only going to give you a border on the left side. Bottom is going to give it to you only on the bottom of every single cell. Top is going to give you a border only on the top of every single cell, and right will give you similarly only on the right side of every single cell over here. For example, let's just click on bottom border. What you'll notice is, since I've selected all the cells over here, and let's just say that I have selected right border. Now let's just say I want basically all borders, which means I want it to be present on the bottom also, on the top also, on the right also, on the left also. And in that case, what I can choose is something called as all borders. When I choose all borders, basically all sides of every cell, which is the top, bottom, right, and left of every single individual cell, is going to be the specific border styles that I have selected over here. So you can go ahead and use this as well. And just to understand this a bit more, let's just select our entire table and just bring it to a normal style where there is no other borders over here. And let's just say this time for border style, I just want to select something looking a little different, wherein I am selecting a thick border like this, and I don't want it to be 3 points. I want it to be like say 1.5 points, and I want the pen color to be, let's say, green. Now what I can do is, obviously I can draw them manually, but I want to apply it to the entire table. In that case, what I can do is I can just select the borders, and I can select my entire table like this and click on all borders. So when I click on all borders, I basically want every single cell, all the sides to look like this. So I can do this, or let's just say I want it to be the outside border, which means I can just select my entire table and I can choose to apply it only on the outside, which means only the outside of my entire table it's going to be applied to. And I can go ahead and select this as well. Or then if I want to remove the border, I can also obviously select on no borders at all. And let's just say that I want it to be present on the insides alone. Then I can also select something called as insides and make it look like this. So in this manner, you can edit the borders by selecting the style from these 4 options and then either drawing it manually or by applying it to all the 4 sides of your table, or the insides, or to only the left sides or the right sides, and make specific selections of cells or the entire table as a whole, and you can select it like this. One last thing to see over here within the table layout option is that when you apply these borders, you do notice that sometimes some cells don't have borders on all the sides and they just have a border on one side or 2 sides of the 4 sides that they have. In that case, if you're finding it difficult to identify where the lines are, then you can turn on something called as view grid lines over here, which is going to give you all the lines of the table and which enables you to see the boundaries of your cell very clearly when you click on it, even if the borders are not present. And this is basically something that you can just turn on and turn off. This is for convenience, so that you can just type your content over here and while you're typing your content, you're able to view where the borders are. And if you don't need it, you can just go ahead and turn it off. And where this becomes most useful is, for example, if I've chosen a table design where there is no borders at all, something like this. So now I'm not able to tell where are the lines and where do I place my cursor. In that case, what you can do is you can just select your table and go back to your table layout and just click on view grid lines, and this is just going to turn on the grid lines to enable you to see the boundaries of each cell of your table, even though you have chosen a table without any borders. So yeah, this is how you can go ahead and insert tables. And apart from that, we've also seen the table designs and how you can turn on or off these different options that are available in such a way that you can turn on or off some of these options to be able to manipulate the table styles that appear over here. And once you've manipulated the table styles by using this, you can select a specific table style that's suitable for the table that you're using. And you can also apply borders either manually or by using the automatic borders over here, by using the different options available for automatic borders, by firstly selecting the different styles that you want for your specific borders. And this is how you can largely insert and edit tables. So do go ahead and give it a try and play around with the different table options within both the table design or tab and within the table layout tab. And do let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below, and I'll definitely try and help you out. Until then, thank you so much for watching, everyone. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.